In my view, I think there are some structural problems. One is, of course, if we look at the sizes of the countries in this region, probably we would not find comparable region in other part of the world where you have a big country like India occupying more than 70% of region's GDP, region's population, or probably the landmass. I think then it comes the kind of huge imbalance in the sizes. So that is one of the structural factors. And then the kind of the land border India has with most of the countries, and the other countries except Afghanistan probably has only, Afghanistan has land border with Pakistan, but all other countries have land border with India only. So I think these are the structural factors which are given. So your neighbor is given, so you can't change your neighbor. So probably that is something one deeper understanding we must have. Probably we get very agitated that I don't like my neighbor, I don't like this and that country. But you know, this is something you can't change. But what you can do, what we can do, we can improve the relationship between the neighbors. So that is something in our hand. So these structural factors, I think some of it is given, and some of it we have some control over it. But other thing, I think the more fundamental issue is that these countries, we start to blame each other. That look, I don't get market access, I can't export to your country, because you have a lot of non-tariff issues, you have tariff issues, you have many other trade facilitation issues. So we just love to blame each other, that I can't get my export product to your market. But do we look at ourselves? Are we following with the countries, individual countries, following the right kind of development policies, or right kind of trade policy, right kind of FDI policy, and of course the human capital development policy. So if we compare this region, South Asia, with region like East Asia or Southeast Asia, we will see it's not simply the trade policy which mattered, as Ali is asking, how we can increase the trade. It's not only the trade policy, it's not only simply about opening up. What is your FDI policy? What is your human capital formation policy? What is your health and education expenditure? How do you, are you able to have better command over your macroeconomic management? So I think these are the very fundamental things we must look at ourselves. So where I try to argue that the kind of development convergence, what we observed in Southeast Asia or greater in East Asia, that led to their integration in a much broader way. That kind of convergence we don't see in terms of development policy in South Asia. Some of the countries probably they are doing a bit of better way, but most of the countries we are actually going into a very, very different direction. So if we really want to increase the international trade, I think we have to get our domestic policies right.